Buonasera, buonasera, grazie a tutti voi che vi siete collegati. Siamo in collegamento con Cristiani per Israele, Italia e Israele, Gerusalemme, per una nuova serata di osservatorio europeo. Questa sera abbiamo l'onore e il privilegio di avere Rav Maimon e anche il nostro caro collaboratore e amico Alexander Mark. Come sempre noi tratteremo argomenti importanti e di attualità. Anche questa sera noi tratteremo il rapporto, questo legame che non si può separare, che non può essere rotto di Israele, del popolo di Israele con la terra che Dio ha dato al suo popolo. Avremo una bella serata insieme, quindi collegatevi. Ringraziamo la regia che ci ha organizzato questo evento, ringraziamo Mark Alexander e ringraziamo il nostro ospite d'onore, il Rav Maimon. Collegatevi anche ai nostri siti, ai nostri programmi, ai nostri mass media, collegatevi a YouTube, collegatevi a Facebook, Telegram, Instagram e anche al nostro sito Cristiani per Israele, Italia, per essere sempre informati di ciò che sta accadendo in diretta da Israele. È importante sapere ciò che sta accadendo, essere al centro, al cuore della storia. E questa sera noi saremo al cuore del popolo di Israele con la Torah, con la parola e con la terra, la meravigliosa terra di Israele. Questa sera noi avremo la diretta in inglese, ma a brevissimo tempo noi avremo anche la traduzione in italiano. Quindi rimanete collegatevi a YouTube Cristiani per Israele Italia, il nostro canale. Buonasera Mark Alexander. Good evening, Mark Alexander.
Good evening to you, Ed. Good to see you again. And thank you for inviting me once more to host this webcast with you. So I'll get straight down to matters. So the land of Israel holds deep historical and religious significance for the Jewish people. Anciently, it was the homeland of the Israelites, where the kingdoms of Israel and Judea thrived thousands of years ago. Throughout the centuries, Jews faced exiles and dispersions, but maintained a strong spiritual and cultural connection to this land. In modern times, the return to Israel became a central goal of the Jewish nationalist movement, leading to the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948. This land continues to be a vital symbol of Jewish identity and heritage, and it continues to be the center of Jewish life in the world. Most of, let's say, the largest Jewish community lives now in the land of Israel, and we feel that it is time as well that the diaspora comes to the realization that it is time to move back to the ancient homeland of the Jewish people, which is also the modern homeland of the Jewish people. And there's a lot of work to be done. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Rav Maimon. Do we have Rabbi Rav Maimon?
Buonasera. Good evening. Thank you very much for inviting me. I also will speak English. I'm really sorry. I like so much to hear your voice in Italian. I understand only a part of it, but it's really singing all the time, and it's a very nice way to create bridge between people. And this is maybe the most important thing we need in these difficult days.
Indeed. So Edda's going to start with the questions, speaking about the biblical link to the land of Israel, and then we'll continue later.
Thank you so much, Rav Maimon and Mark. I would like to ask this beginning of this question. In the Torah, it's written that the tribes of Israel could not give up their land even to another tribe. Why? as this idea not been respected since 1948, but was there an attempt to give up the land in the name of peace? Why?
Yes. In the beginning, in the Bible, it was very clear when Moses took the Jews from Egypt and bring them to the land of Israel. It was the name of Canaan at this time. And then when the Jews come back to the land of Israel, it can take the name of Israel. That was the place that God wanted us to stay and to be a light for all humanity, for all the nations. And it was very important to be connected to this land, because the land, in some way, is like the body of a personal individual. And what the land is the body of the people. It's something which is very strong. But the other side is very simple. We need a territory. If we want to be a laboratory, if we want to be a light for the nation, we have to show the people what is the family, what is the tribe, how we can organize a civilization. And for that, we need a territory. We need a place to make it. So it was very important to have the land. But the land is not the ultimate value. And you know that very well in Italy. You know that the land is very important. But what's really important is to be connected to God, to be connected to self, to be a good person. And so it's not enough to think that we need the land at any price. The land could be shared. The land maybe could be, we can maybe even leave part of the land if we can get a higher value. The higher value could be peace, for example. I mean real peace, not just something that we just, it looks like a peace, but it's not a peace. But if we think of real possibility that we can get rid of few meters of the land or few kilometers of the land, on the other side, to have a better situation, to be a servant of God with our neighbors, and we have neighbors from Muslim people, and we can work together to be together servant of God, it will be for sure a better way. And we have done that already with the King Solomon. The King Solomon get rid of some of the land at some point with the people of Lebanon. So it's possible to do that. It's not fully forbidden. It's a value. We have to make a cost benefit analysis, and this we have to be very clear. Over thinkers, as you know, Judaism is not only one voice. It's a lot of thinkers, a lot of rabbis during 3,000 years. So some thinkers think that it's real the body of the Jewish people, and we cannot get rid of any part of it. Like you cannot get rid of your leg, of your head, or any part. If you miss a part of the land, it's really something which is missing to be connected to God. So it's really something which is a kind of vehicle. It's something that we need to be servant of God. So some people think that it's really important, but other people think that we may have some discussion and to make a cost-benefit analysis if we can get rid of a part of the land, but on the other side you keep your political sovereignty. It's something that we can survive and be a light for the nation, and to be together, to be servant of God. So it's also something that is acceptable. So it's something today most of the rabbis think that in some possibility, if we have to get rid of the part of the land and to get a better situation, either between different part of the Jews, as we have made with Gaza in 2005, or with the Sinai in 1979, it could be possible. And most of the rabbis have said it's possible to do that, to get a better value, which is peace, and which is to be together with and to make a better life and a better spiritual and physical life.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Shall I come in? Do you want to continue, Ed, or shall I come in?
Yes, I can continue.
Okay, go ahead.
Another important question is in my heart, and there's this. The recent agreements signed by President Trump with Qatar and Syria are very stimulating. Many media wrote this was a distancing position from Israel. It's true.
Maybe I will ask Marco to answer this question.
So Edda is expressing her concern about the recent developments between
Yes.
President Trump and Qatar. Probably
Syria.
And the agreements with Syria, also the meeting the jihadist who's currently serving as the current president of the non-existent state of Syria. It is a little concerned about these moves, and I think with some justification.
I can only agree with all what you have said, Marco. I mean, this is very clear to us, but we don't understand exactly what is the process. What I can say, which is basic, which is that the interest of America and the interest of Israel are not always going in the same direction.
Indeed.
America is a sovereign country. When they have some interest, it's not always the same interest as Israel. So we cannot trust any superpower to protect us.
I agree with you, yes.
What they have to do, they do what is good for America. They have done that all the time. Sometimes they need oil, and they need some other things. They need big market to sell what they want to sell, weapons and other things, and the nuclear plants and anything they want to need, and technology. So we understand that it's very clear that they have other interests that only to make the best for the state of Israel, and we accept that. I mean, it's not something which is surprising us. It's something we discussed us. We have to be aware that we are in the political situation, and geopolitical is make of interest of different countries, and each country has to be clear about that. It's like in business. You are making deals with people, but sometimes we have to be aware that each company has their own interests, and it's acceptable. We have to be aware of that in the beginning. It's not a kind of betrayal. It's just a matter that we have to understand from the beginning when we start to work with a company, but this company sometimes is not maybe as better way to make a deal with somebody else. It's not an exclusive. It's not an exclusive relationship. It's not a Catholic wedding. It's something more complicated. There is no Catholic wedding in political life.
Indeed. I wanted to pick you up on something which you said before about territorial concessions, because I think, and I believe certainly in an empirical sense, it has been a tragic failure on every front. It is clear, and I think it should be clear to everyone, that territorial concessions of the land of Israel has only brought a disaster upon the state of Israel. And I go back even to the Camp David agreements with Menachem Begin, certainly followed by the Oslo Accords, which were even more pernicious in nature because there was a greater distortion of the democratic process. But I put it to you, and even King Solomon's ceding of land to Ahiram, I put it to you that after that we begin to see a decline in Jewish Israelite life. I think we have ample evidence that ceding any part of the land of Israel, we neither get peace nor anything else. We get sorrows. So I put it to you. I throw the ball back to you. That land for peace is simply a formula that doesn't work with people who have never shown an interest in peace, and indeed we demean the very notion of peace because it is a fictitious of peace, because as you know as well as I, peace in Judaism, in Hebrew, shalom, means a completion of relationships, and a completion of relationships doesn't come about by ceding something which is intrinsically yours. A fortiori ratio to enemies who want your destruction.
I think I agree with all what you have said. And to make it a bit differently, I will say, theoretically, we know that there are other values bigger than land. But in the context of the Middle East, with countries who see when we know the Arab mentality, which is very clear, they see every time that you make a concession, they see as a weakness. They don't see it as an effort of someone. Some people come from the Christianity and Judaism. You see who is the biggest person is the person who can show some weakness. But in the Arab world, in the Arab culture, when you show that you make some concession, they see, you are weak to do that. And if you are weak, we are going to beat you more. So as you said, when we gone out of Lebanon, we've got more terrorism. When we gone out of Gaza, we get more and more terrorism. When we got out of Sinai, we've got more and more terrorism and attacks. So it doesn't work, as you say. It doesn't work in our culture, in the land. But it's not theoretically, just physically in this context. But if tomorrow we have another group of people, if we change the mind of the people, if we get to maybe to more Westerners' mind, which I don't think is going to happen so easy. So if people get more to some real politics and not only to have a value ethics, which is say we don't want the Jews at all to be here. So what we have seen is they didn't want the Jews to be here, to be in the land of Israel at all. They didn't want any Jewish sovereignty. They don't accept it at all. They didn't accept it at all. It will take a lot of time to accept it. So as you say, in this context, when the first time they tried to destroy us with a conventional war, they come with tanks and planes and soldiers, and we beat them three or four times in 48, 56, 67, and then in 1973. And then they decided to go to terrorism, to make the people terrorized. And they tried to terrorize that. And thanks God, we managed to be creative and to find a way to, even in this kind of asymmetric war, to succeed. And then they go now to the intellectual war against us. And so in this context, as you say, the land is not the issue. The land is only an argument to get more and more and more. And they say, I remember when Sheikh Yassin, which was the founder of Hamas, I was someone who is very pro-peace and pro-agreements. And that sometime I listened to him, and he told in Arabic, that if we can get some territory without war, we get it without war. If we don't get in without war, we use violence. And then we get they want to have more. They say we want to have first Gaza, and then we want then to have the Western Bank, Jordan and Samaria, and if we don't get that with political way, we'll go it with violence. And they say if we don't get, and then we want Jerusalem, and when we get Jerusalem, if we get it, if we can do it with discussion, it's good. If we don't, we go for violence. So they didn't plan at any time to have a kind of deal. So that reason, so it's not a theoretical or biblical or spiritual or religious issue. It's just a matter of we have to understand the culture, and we have to be aware that every bargain of land is not, and I agree with your final decision, what you have said now, what you have said before, but with territory in this context, giving territory for peace is just stupid. If you want to have peace, you have to give peace against peace, not territory. If somebody tell you, like if Putin and Ukraine now, if you come to Putin say, if you give me a part of Ukraine, I will stop beating you. And say, okay, and what will happen later? What will be the next day? And it's something similar. They say, if you give us some part of the land, we don't beat you anymore. And we know what they do. They take the land and beat you again. So it's It's like in the mafia. It's not with the people who want to make peace. It's people
It's
who want to take
extortion.
everything.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
exhaustion. But let me just pick you up on something else, because I believe
Yes.
that we're on a theoretical and a moral level, there is something fundamentally wrong with reimbursing people, refunding people for wars of aggression as well. Aside from this, I believe also in the sanctity of the land. I believe it must be something. I believe that where our soldiers die on the land, they have redeemed the land for the Jewish people. I believe that, I sincerely believe there can be no going back, and going back will only bring disaster upon ourselves, as it's always happened. This is, but there is a principle of a moral principle which we tend to neglect, that by getting into this land for peace formula, we are in fact rewarding people for wars of aggression. And I think this, we are setting, Jewishly, we are setting a very bad example by even entertaining this idea.
Very interesting. I will go back to the issue of sanctity. I think it's something we have to understand, and it's not very. It's also maybe a place of disagreement between Jews and Christians. So it's not because we are friends, we are brothers. It's okay, but we may discuss about the importance of the body. We may discuss about the importance of a commandment, and we may discuss about the importance of the land. It's the same story in some way. What we say, God is everywhere. So we can ask the question, why we need the land of Israel? If God is everywhere, you can connect to God everywhere. And the same thing, what
Yes.
God wants is the hurt. Why do you need to have this kind of commandment, like regarding for the Jews, regarding dietary law, like to eat kosher, and what you need to have Shabbat, what you need to have all these laws. What we want is the hurt, the conversion of the herd, which is the most important issue, and why you need to live especially in Israel. So I said maybe at the individual level, it's maybe possible to be connected to God at any place. But if you want to have a kind of collective connection to God, and which is what is very unique with the Jewish people and the land of Israel, that's really the body of the Jewish people. That's the place when they can be connected to God. God is always more in Jerusalem. It's always the connection with God. When you go to Jerusalem, every one of us who has been in Jerusalem, I live in Jerusalem, you see the sanctity everywhere. You feel that you are part of the house of God. You are part of his home. And we feel it very strongly in your heart, even of people who are very far away from any religious education. When they get to the Western world, they see that something happening to them. They get the feeling. And it's something which is a kind of mysticism. It's a kind of mystical experience. And we see it again and again. So there is something very unique with the land. There is a special adaptation between the land of Israel and the Jewish people. It's like we have a tomato, and we have a tomato, you need some kind of land. If you have an ananas, you need another land. And we need something, we have potato, it's another land. For the Jews, the best land, the best place when it can grow and be itself, when a Jew, the Jewish people, as an individual, as a collective, can really be fully a Jew, when the place can be a fully human being, it's when he's his own land, and he has his own language, and he has a collective sovereignty, and then he could be servant of God. And which is, I will claim, a part of Psalms, which is I think it's maybe 103. It's called Oshienu Hashem Elokeinu, Vekabetzenu min hagoyim, leodot leshem kodshecha listaber beteilatecha, which is something very interesting. It says, please God, save us and bring them home to Israel. And when we come home to Israel, we'll be able to play how do you say that? L'allel, to thank you. We'll be to please and to thank you.
Yes.
Only when we get back to Israel, when the majority of the Jews will be back to Israel, when all the Jewish people will be back of Israel, which is the majority of them, which you are very close to that today, We are really, 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 really close. The majority of the Jews are today in Israel. And so if it's not, it will be in 5 years from now.
Indeed.
If we see that, at this stage, we'll be able really to please you and to thank you and to be real. And then it will be a blessing for all humanity.
Indeed.
And this is what is very important. We need the Jews, all the humanity needs the Jews to come back to Israel. So it will be a light for all the nation. Only when before all the Jews, the majority of the Jews come in Israel, it's only individual relationship. When we come as a collective, it will be something completely different. Another thing is it's a full people which come back and is able to be connected to God and to give real something which is bigger and to make a salvation for all humanity. So this is very something completely new, and this thing is coming. We are in history in the making, just because we are in these special years. We are really part of a very metaphysical process of the Jews, the Jewish people coming back to Israel and make the land of Israel flourishing. And we see that is going better and better. And we see building everywhere. We see trees everywhere. We see that people is getting better and better. And then we have it's a blessing for all humanity. So we need this land of Israel. We need the Jewish people going back to Israel. And then it will be a blessing for all humanity.
Indeed. Yes, exactly. That's fascinating. And what I wanted to say was that we see that there is a continuous attempt to separate the notion of Judaism from the land of Israel. Very often you'll hear nowadays people saying, I'm not an anti-Semite, I'm just an anti-Zionist, which is a contradiction in terms, because there can be no Jewish people without the land of Israel. All the rhythms of the Jewish people depend on the land of Israel. The fulfillment of the precepts can only really be fulfilled in the land of Israel to their fullest extent. I would like you to deal a little bit with that, because we're going to be touching on this subject on the future, anti-Semitism disguised as anti-Zionism.
Yeah, okay. I will try to make it. I'm just writing about that, but it's really the beginning of what I'm trying to explain, because we have to create a new language. I will put it this way. People don't understand the Zionist narrative. It's very difficult for people from the West to understand what we try to say. What we try to say, we have been living in Israel for 2,000 years ago. We have been for 2,000 years in Airbnb, when we go to sleep, and then we go back home, and there are some squatters who come back, and we have taken the place, and we have to find a solution for the squatters. But it's my home. I went on holiday during the summer and come back, and somebody has taken my house. So we have to find a solution for these people, but I'm not really in charge of that. What I'm in charge is to get back to my land. And when we tell the story, this narrative, this storytelling is very difficult to understand. People are very afraid of such an issue. They cannot understand. It's very simple, but it's something which is not convincing everybody. People are afraid. But if you say that, the Italian will say, we have been once the Roman Empire, and we want to go back to Algeria, and we want to go back to Tunisia, and we want to be everywhere in the world. But so people are afraid, and we have to make very clear that the Jewish story is not exactly that. We have only one small piece of land, which is the historical piece of land. We don't need a big empire. We need just a small place when we can be an example, a laboratory for all humanity to see how the Jewish life is an example, is something inspiration for all humanity. And so, but it's difficult to say. So we absolutely agree that some people can be anti-Zionist without being anti-Semitic. These people say, we understand the Jews need to have, I have nothing against Jews. I think the Jews can live their life everywhere they want. But you have a problem when you go to Israel, because there are some people who have been sitting there during the time we have been away, and we have to find a solution for you and for them. And so that's one of the way as could be that we have to share the land. But it's not exactly the best solution, and we see it didn't work as we have discussed before. So at a long time we make a difference between two kinds of anti-Zionism. One is we can make it, if you want to make it simple, but remember all the people who are listening to us, I will say two words and maybe you remember and explain them again. There are people that are against 1948, and some people who are against have a problem with 1967. So this is the difference. I will explain it. Some people say we don't want the Jews at all to have a state. This is fundamental anti-Zionism. They say the Jews, unless as the difference of all the other people in the world, they are not allowed to have their own sovereignty. This is anti-Zionism, and this is something we have to fight, because why the Jews were not allowed to have a country if all the people in the world have a country? I don't speak about the size of the country, but the idea that these people is a real people and they need to have a country, they need to have a sovereignty. And this is anti-Zionism, and this is not acceptable. But there are some people who say, we accept the Jews to have a state, but what we cannot accept is they take the land, and we have a discussion regarding the territories like Judea and Samaria, and these people, we can understand. We have also people in Israel, we are very Zionist people who are really connected to the land and accept the idea that Jews need sovereignty. But they say maybe to make a better living and we have to make a bargain and maybe to exchange some land to have more peace. And so these people, it's not called anti-Semitism, but the people who say the Jews, the only people in the world who are not allowed to have a country, to have a sovereignty and to have a nationality, these people are called anti-Semitism. This is the basic difference I can make between anti-Zionism, anti-Semitism.
Right. But I would beg to differ even on that, Rav Maimon, with all the respect, because I would say the fact that Israel took land in a defensive war, the people who criticize Israel's presence in Judea and Samaria deny a basic right of self-defense and an expression of justice for the Jewish people. Countries that have undergone aggressive wars do have rights, aside from the historical and biblical right. For example, there are many precedents. Nobody complains about the Germans losing land subsequent to World War II, or the exchanges of land in India and Pakistan, and all the adjustments in Western Europe and indeed in Italy. Italy lost a war, which was a war of aggression, and it did lose land. And there has to be some fundamental principle of justice. And to deny a principle of justice to the Jews, I would contend, is to reduce them to an inferior status. And I would say that that is indeed an expression of anti-Semitism.
Absolutely. Anytime that we make a double standard, it's a kind of anti-Semitism. If you say something which is acceptable for all the countries, but not for the Jews, like the right to defend themselves, or as you say, if somebody attacks you and you win, you got the land. That's the reason nobody asks you to attack us.
Indeed.
And we don't want to attack. But if you
Indeed.
attack us, and if you attack us and you lose, we are sorry. You didn't have to go there. And next time you have to think again before we try to attack the Jewish people. Just remember that for 3,000 years, every people who have attacked the Jews, at the end of the day, they lost. Sometimes they win for a while. At the end of the day, they lost. And we don't see who are all the empire who have attacked the Jews during the years. And the people who are connected to the Jews are blessed. And the people who are attacking Jews just disappear. So the story is very simple, and all the people who have read the Bible know that. So this is the big story. And as you say, we can, okay, so regarding the Judea and Samaria, what we call the territories or West Bank, is something that I accept with you. I agree with you. but something. So, but we can accept that some people disagree with the government of Israel. People some can disagree about Israel right to do that and that things, and this is not called anti-Zionism. It's not called even. It's for sure not called anti-Semitism. And then we have some people who just are really not anti-Semitic. They don't understand that Jewish people is not, it's not a religion, it's an ethnic group with a religion. It's ethnic group and land of Israel and religion all together, three dimensions. This is all people of the Middle East are this way. They have their own God, they have
Right.
their own
Yeah.
religion, they own their language, they have a people, they have a faith, and this is what they do. And this is and we are a kind of tribe among all the Semite tribes of the region, and we are just fighting with another. At the end of the day, sometimes we stop fighting because in some way we are just cousins. We are just brothers and sisters from long time, and we are fighting. This is the way to express yourself in the neighborhood, and we have to. And so, but at the end of the day, this is not something. And but if you see some people who tell you, I think that there is no people should have any nation. We am against any kind of nation. I can understand this person. I think it will not work, but I believe because I think nation is the basic if you want to express a collective idea. But
Yes, yes, indeed. Yes.
but
An
if you
Irish,
think some people say we
yeah,
cannot, we accept for the Palestinian to have a state, which is something which doesn't exist. The Palestinian people, it's something which is a
it's
real,
fictitious. It's
Exactly.
fictitious.
fictitious and new. It did not exist some 50 years ago. It's just a new phenomenon where people clothe them and
Indeed.
to make it. So if you accept for the Palestinian to have a state, if you accept for any group in the world to have their own sovereignty and independence, and you don't accept that for the Jews, and you are in some way a kind of double standard, which is anti-Semitism.
Ida,
Yes. I would like to ask one biblical question to the Rav Maimon. Thank you so much for this wonderful time. In this current situation, to what prophecy can the present situation in Israel be compared? Some given recent events are comparing the current situation with the biblical historical relationship between Israel and Edom. There is a relationship now in this situation. Actually, the situation is like this.
Okay, I understand what you say. I mean, everybody who look at the actual and to the today Israel is we understand what we are part of a big history of a biblical story. It's the same story is again and again. But we see a lot of nation against the Jews, which is completely the situation in the Bible. When we see that some nation who just they don't care about everything that happened all over the world, what happened in Congo, in Eritrea, in Nigeria. Everywhere we have wars and people don't care. The only thing for them is what happened in Israel. We understand that it's the land of God. The story is more than a political story. It's a metaphysical story. Most of the people who are against Israel, it's a metaphysical story. They have a problem. They just mean if Israel exists, I cannot exist, which is the reason we have so much intensity of all that. So if you tell me, do I look like the story of Israel of today is a kind of biblical story? I say absolutely. We never seen a country with people who get back from the language who have disappeared for 2,000 years. We never seen a people from Jews who have coming from more than 100 countries in the world coming back, gathering in the same place and being a country which is successful. We understand that all that means that there is a blessing someone. It cannot work. We have no chance to make it happen without the hand of God. So it's something that everybody who has read the Bible, who have read the Bible, somebody who has a feeling, and people look at that. If you look at objectively, you say, we understand that it's not a real story. It's not a common story. It's something happening here, which is we are part of a big moment of God hand who is doing something in the world. And even the Israeli people who claim they are atheists and they say we don't believe in God. Sometimes they say we don't believe in God, but we understand that God gave us this land. So we don't believe in God, but we know that God gave us this land. We understand that if we don't believe in that, we believe that there is a kind of history which is beyond everything. 3 years after the Shoah, 3 years after the Holocaust, Auschwitz, and the Jews have been fully killed and they have no value at all, the Jewish people come back of the ashes and set up their own sovereignty and succeeded to fight back seven countries of Arab countries all over of us. So something is new. At least five big countries, or 5 big armies, and then other people come from different countries. So we are part of a big history. You are absolutely right to say that something which is what we happen today. And if you ask me, do we have a if we have a big history against Edom, what you mentioned before. So I want to tell you, we have to be very careful. We understand it when we speak in the big picture. When we go back to the details, we have to be very careful. God is not in my pocket. I cannot go and say, I understand according what is written in the Bible with this verse or this chapter. I say this is exactly what's happening, because we don't have a key to understand everything. What we have to be a lot of humbleness. We have to be a lot of humility, and we have to say we don't know. Maybe we're right, maybe we are wrong, and we have to be very careful, because we have to be very careful not to be dogmatic, not to think that we have God in your pocket. So we don't know what's happening. Who is our enemy today? Is it we know that we have 3 big stories. We have in part the Muslims and the Christian world, and then the small Jewish people, which is nothing, 15 million people altogether. So, and we have all these people have learned from Abraham. And so we have together to do something. So what is the mission of Israel? This is the question asking you, all the people who are listening to us. I want to tell you, what do you think the Jews are doing? Why God created the Jewish people for? What's the mission of the Jewish people? And we don't really know. I don't know why. I just know that I have to keep what my parents have done, what my grandparents have done for 2,000 or 3,000 years, and we do the same thing. And I continue to do what we have to do, and we try to be good. We have to be as human as you can, even with people who are absolutely not human and not respectable. And we try to be what we do, and we don't have a full picture. So it's very difficult to say who is Edom, who is Ishmael, who is this, that, what we have to do with that. Do we need to be very, what we have to do there, and to translate the big picture to the details according to what is written in the Bible that we have in our hand is very dangerous. I think in some way it's even not responsible. It's something which is not acceptable religiously. We have to be very careful. We understand that it's a blessing. We understand that we are fighting against bad people, and we understand that at some part of the game, we'll have like during the King David time. What happened during the King David time? We are going back to this place. And what happened? We have a lot of countries all around. They say, please, you can help us to be a better management. We can have to get rid all this terrorist group. And they say, okay, David say, I can do that. And we will get the power and we'll help you to make it better. This is the system of the empire, the Jewish empire who could come at some point. And it could happen with Saudi Arabia if we make Abraham agreement, if we can make it with different countries, even in Syria. And everything could happen. But we have to be very careful. We have to think it. We have to be, I will put it this way. We are in the long range, we have to be very inspired by God. But when you go to the details, you have to put God out of equation and to think again with a rational way. Because if we take everything which is, like an equation, and we have infinite, nothing can be calculated anymore. So we have to be aware that God is doing everything. On the other side, we understand that we have to do the best according to what your mind sees, what your eyes sees, like it's written in the Torah. You have to be to act according to what we see and not according to what we know from the Bible. So the Bible is fundamental. It's really that's the basic what can help us to find the right way of our life. But we have to be aware. But don't use the Bible to know when you go to supermarket and to make what is the best thing to buy from this supermarket. I think it's not the appropriate use of the Bible. We have to be very careful not to take exactly what is written because we don't understand what is written. Only afterwards. Nobody understood what does it mean to return to the land of Israel before it happened, really. And when we don't understand what it means to build back the temple before we see how it happened. Some people read the Bible and say we have to build the temple of Jerusalem. And we say we have to be very careful because what does it mean? If you want to build the temple now, it will be maybe a nuclear war. It could be maybe a world war. We don't want that in any way. So we have to be very careful. We have to be aware this is where we want to do. It will be a blessing for all the nation if we have a temple. God will be back to land, to the earth, and will add a lot of blessing for all the nationality. But we have to find a way how to make it happen without breaking the boxes, not to break the rules. We have to be very careful not to use directly what is written in the Bible because it's something that could be very dangerous. In
Indeed,
my opinion.
It's a very interesting point that you do raise. On the other hand, I would say, we do have some indications about what we should be doing, and when we don't do those things, let me give you an example.
Please do give me a full example, and you'll explain.
Yeah.
And then, so if we have to discuss that, we'll do it.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying. I think of the great Hasidic and Haredi communities that lived in Eastern Europe, and perhaps there was a failure to hear the call and the need to return to the land of Israel just before and during the Second World War. And we have the testimony of Rav Teichtel, Em Habanim Smecha, which is a sort of a confession of their sort of incapacity to understand reality, or that in some way they have put the force field up and closed their eyes, whereas the Zionist movement had returned to the land of Israel, and much of world Jewry and probably the great fortresses of Torah in Europe were swept away. So I'm a little bit concerned when we're a little bit too afraid of what's written in the Bible as well. Let me put that to you.
Okay, I agree. So we have to be a balance. We have to be a balance. We have to think how to make it. We understand the principle. And this is the matter. This is the reason God didn't give us something which is ready to use. It's something that He has to be inspiration for us. It will have to have a discussion like we have today between you and mine. I'm ready to build from my discussion with you. I'm drawing about what you have said, both of you, and or maybe some auditor, other people who are listening to us can share with us. I really believe that it's a discussion which is not finished. God didn't want to give us something which is ready to use. He wanted us to be a part of a making by ourselves and to use our mind. Mind is also a blessing of God.
Indeed,
and we have to use the mind. This is the way when we can be connected to God. And this is the way to have used the mind. So I agree with you. Sometimes we have to be more. It's always, there is always a trade-off between faith and rationality, and we have to be aware how much you trust God, how much you make some effort. So if you do too much effort, it's a lack of trust in God. And if you make too much trust in God, it's something that you build on miracle, and you cannot build on miracle. So we have to be aware. When you want to to build a company, when you want to launch a program like you do today, you have to be very careful to use it. What is technical, to have be very technically, and not
Indeed.
to say God will help and it will work by itself. It doesn't work.
Indeed. I'm saying yeah, sorry. What I say, I do it to stimulate conversation as well. It's l'shem hashamayim, for the
Yeah.
sake of heaven, and I think we're having an interesting conversation because of that. Let me just turn to a little, not a little. I think the need for especially in the light of events around the world, the violence against Jewish communities, and the pressure that is being placed on them by the host societies in general. The call for the Jewish people, to return to the land of Israel is becoming greater and greater. And it seems as if that sometimes we may not have learned the lessons of the past. Hanging around too long is not good. Do you think that perhaps people are hesitating just a little bit too much in interpreting events, and seeing that perhaps now is the time to pack their bags and return home?
I will tell you the big picture. I tell you, regarding the details, it's very complicated. But I will tell you a big story. When Herzl wrote the book, the Half Neuland, when he wrote the book about Zionism, 90% of the Jews were living in Europe, and 80% of the Jews are living in Eastern Europe. Today, there are no more Jews in Eastern Europe, unless almost nobody. And we have only few 100,000. And before, it was most of the Jews were there. And we understand that it's finished. The other part, when we have a lot of Jews were in the Arab countries and Muslim countries, it's already free of Jews at all. And then today we have only two parts of the world when you have Jews. We have in Western Europe, some in Italy, some in France, some in Germany, and some in Britain and Belgium and other place, Switzerland, but very small community in Holland and so on. And then we have, and we all know that these Jews are very a lot of pressure on them. And we understand that maybe and then America. And then we see that there is a moment of history. There is a big history. The big history, the Jewish people come back to his home. And this is a blessing. And the Jews have some resistance to that. This is difficult to relocate. This is difficult to immigrate to another place. It's difficult to leave your home and your zone of comfort to go to another place. So there is a resistance to that. And what goes, if we want to take a perspective of divine perspective, what we can say, it seems very clear that it's always a mix of push factors and pull factors. That means some people is pushing you. And if people don't hear the voice of the music of the land of Israel, who is calling back his people to tell them, please come home, come home, come home. So they will hear another voice. They will hear the voice of the people who hate them. And they chant in the street of all Europe, they chant, kill the Jews, or over chanting over very nasty words like that. So if the Jews don't understand and come by very goodwill and easy and pack their luggage, and we don't and we'll keep good relationship with the people around, it may happen that we have a new population. And we see most of the place today is most of the Muslim population who come and they want to take the Jews away. And so the Jews will have maybe to pack. And what is very important, I told you before we started this emission, but I published yesterday a book in France, which is making a lot of noise, which is a very strange name. It's called The Hand of French Jews.
Yes, I know. I noticed that in your interview. Yes.
Yeah. Perhaps I say the Jews have no chance to remain in France, mainly because of demography.
Yes.
There is a demographer called Alfred Sauvy, a French demographer. He say the demography is the small needle of a clock. You don't see it moving, but it show you the hour. It show what is the time now. So this is very important to understand. So there is a change of demography in many countries in Europe, and we have a lot of these people are not going to disappear. And what they want, like Arafat, the terrorist leader, I've said in South Africa, he was playing when he speaks in English, it was saying many nice things, but when he
Yes, of
speaks in
course.
Arabic with these people, he said, we want after Shabbat, after Saturday, we want Sunday. I mean, we want first to take the Jews out of Europe or out of land, of any place in the Middle East, and then we want to take the Christian out of all the Middle East and all the world. This is what happened in Lebanon. First, they took the Jews away, and some Christians were helping them because they see it as an opportunity for them to maybe to improve their relationship with the Muslims. And at the end of the day, what happened? These people become very bad for them, and they at the end of the day, what happened? They took away also the Christian people. So this is
Indeed,
exactly what's
yes.
happening now. This
Yes,
is,
yes.
and we have to be very aware of that. And if the governments, we have, thanks God, in Italy, a very good leader at the moment who is doing very well things economically and also socially in many ways. What I know, I don't know so much, but I see that do a very good thing. And we need a real thinking again. What happening in France? They don't do nothing. They increase immigration all the time, and we there is kind of very short-term thinking, and they just want to have some peace for few. And we understand where to live in France, more than 25 times more Muslim than Jews, and so the political play the game of a number of games. So it's clear that they are going to sacrifice the Jews to have some kind of agreement with a Muslim in France and to make a Christian Muslim country. And it will be at the end of the day what the Muslim, at least the Islamists among the Muslims, which is about 1/3 of all the Muslims who supporting Islamism and separatism, these people want to take over France and to make it a Muslim country. So we understand it will be a Muslim country. It will not be possible for the Jews to live there, like it's not possible for Jews to live in Algeria or in Tunisia or in Egypt or in Palestine or whatever. There is no place for the Jews there. It's very difficult for the Christian and very difficult for the Jews. So we understand what is going to happen if French people don't wake up and start thinking about what kind of country they want to set up. This is what I can share you about my book.
Thank you. Perhaps we should have that book translated into Italian, so Italians learn. They can understand what might happen if they don't change their ways. Edda, would you like to?
Yes, thank you. Very, very interesting and very important. And I would like to ask asking advice, not being pro-Israel is creating a lot of problems around the world. How can you encourage us as a Christian for Israel, Italy, who are fighting for biblical and historical truth?
Okay, I think what you can do, I mean, some concrete voice and concrete advices.
Yes.
I think we have to work together. We have to find out, to make a list of all the questions people are asking, and sometimes to write answers. I published a book some 8 months ago in France, which has been distributed to something like 30,000 copies. And people, it's really make of questions, like why you go to Palestine to kill babies, what you call Israel a settler colonialism, and why you make genocide and so on. And we have to make all these questions, and it could be translated to Italian. It's not complicated. We have already a version in Hebrew and English and French and Chinese. And so maybe it could be, and this is very interesting because you have questions, and with each question we have bullets saying all the arguments why what we have to answer all these questions. So there is a lot of lies. A lot of people say many things about which is not true. So we have first to fight for the truth, and we have to be aware. So I believe that some people hate really the Jews, and there is nothing to do with that. But there are not. There are mainly 10 to 15% of the people. We have most of the people. 80% of the people are just people who want to be good faith. They want to learn. They don't know about, and we have to teach them what is the truth, what is the facts, what is the information, and to give them, to provide them very clear, easy to read, practical guide how to fight against that, how to fight about all the lies that they hear in the media. And then we can help. And I think what we do today is also to give the Jewish perspective. So people not only listen to what they say in the television or in the radio, but it's also what the people think from another perspective, which is very important. This is what I'm really supporting what you do. I think it's really important, and I hope that I'm happy to be provide you some help in your very important effort. We really need, we really need we cannot make it together alone. There is no chance that alone we'll be able to fight against all the enemies of the Jewish people. We need some partners. We need partners, and the most evident partners are the Christian people who understand what we say, and these people want to help us, and as the people that you know them, and this is what we have to do. I mean, we have to work with all these people. We have to educate them. We have to provide them some tools, some educational tools and information, and provide them on the websites in Italian, easy to use. So when anytime they have a question, they can go there and get some answers and to understand. So and this is very important for the young people. They go to universities, and they hear a lot of voices against what they hear at home, and they can make a problem inside the family. So if you want to help your children, you have to be aware to provide them with good information, so they can, even if they are only a minority in the classroom or in the university, they can stand against all that because they have information and they know what is the truth. So this is the job we have to do with education and training. This is what I'm trying to do with France, to train the people, to give them information. And you will see on the website of the JPPI, the think tank when I worked, Jewish People Policy Institute, if you take the English version of the book called October 7, or if you take it in French, the 7 Octobre, and a practical guide to fight against anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism. So this is what we have to know, how we can use it. I think we need to provide easy to use information to the people.
We have a question which people are asking. I'll read it. How can you achieve peace in a region when the Muslims don't want it?
It's an important question.
Yeah.
Very important questions.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you, Eva, for your question. Yes. So this is, I will tell you what we know. We learned that from Zev Jabotinsky. He told we need to be a wall of iron. We have to be very strong. If we are very strong, and people see that they have no chance to take us out of the land of Israel, because they believe, there is an assumption. The assumption they have is that we are like a crusader. The crusader who come from Europe, they say for 70 years or 100 years, and they say, we'll come over you. We don't want to hear, and we don't want to give you nothing. So we want you to go away. And they see us as as external thing, but we are not that. We come back. We are indigenous population. We are just a tribe, and we have been for technical reason out of the land, and we come back home. So we have no place to go, and we have no reason to go anywhere. So we are not going to leave, and we are completely convinced. Most of the Israelis are fully convinced that what we do is the moral thing to do, And we know that it's a blessing also for the Arabs in Israel.
Indeed,
But it will
indeed.
take time.
It will, yeah, yeah. No, there are very decent Muslim. We need to say the very decent Muslim Arabs who also participate in the state of Israel, and Israel is a blessing for many decent Arabs. I think we need to underline that as well. You mentioned Jabotinsky, and I would like to throw back
Yes.
a quote by Jabotinsky relating to the diaspora, and I think it's still valid today. He said, "Eliminate the diaspora before it eliminates you." What do you think of that?
Yes.
How do these words resonate today?
This is about what I said to the French people, you know. This is the French Jews, and I have no way. I've been in many, maybe 50 communities in France, and they still invite me, even when I tell them that you have to pack to be ready. You know what I'm saying? Yesterday, in one of the videos you have seen, people ask me, normally I don't tell the people what.
Disappear.
He disappeared. Okay, can happen.
Yes.
A technical glitch. We're still here. We're still here. Anyway, we're coming to the end of our time.
Yes.
So I think we can actually we'll thank Dov, even though he's not here. He'll receive the message. Okay. Are there any words you'd like to say to our viewers, Edda? Perhaps you'd like to say a few words in Italian to sign off.
Yes. And do you know, Mark, every time that I have written the word of Jabotinsky, it's impossible, don't cry, because you can connect what happened a few years later.
Yes, you're absolutely right. They are relevant now more than ever. And his words, unfortunately, were not heeded. And what happened, we all know as a result of that. That's why I also mentioned in tandem a book by a famous ultra-Orthodox person who died in the Shoah as well, and who criticized the leaders of the ultra-Orthodox world for not encouraging their congregants to move to the land of Israel. So these words they resonate. Let us say they resonate more than ever. And anyway, I think we must thank, of course, Rabbi Rav Maimon for his erudite explanations. It's been very, very interesting and very thought-provoking and very stimulating, of course. And I think, with your permission, Edda, I think we can close proceedings for this evening.
Yes. Okay. You can say thank you so much to the Rav Maimon.
Certainly.
And you are saying Laila Tov, Mark.
Laila
Tov is night.
Laila Tov. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's right. And we must remind people to join us for our next webcast. Okay, the next one will be in Italian. So anyway, for anybody who doesn't speak Italian, it's an opportunity to learn Italian.
E il prossimo appuntamento sarà la prima settimana di giugno con un grande ospite che parlerà di un argomento speciale. Vi daremo notizia durante la settimana. Rimanete collegati con Cristiani per Israele e aspettate la nostra traduzione in italiano, e se sapete l'inglese continuate a seguirci. Shalom Vilma, shalom Danila, molte persone ci hanno già seguito questa sera, e aspettate la prossima puntata, il prossimo incontro, la prima settimana di giugno. Shalom a tutti voi, buonasera Elio, molti amici ci hanno seguito, Francesca, buonasera a tutti voi.
Saluti.
Thank you so much, Mark.
My pleasure. Ci vediamo presto.
Ci vediamo presto.
Ciao.
Laila Tov.